You create for yourself some pain of not doing the thing that you said you're going to do. And it turns out that you'll figure it out. There was this study of AI and radiologists. And if you take a radiologist, he reads a study at like 87% accuracy. I'm making this part up. You give him AI and all of a sudden it jumps to 91% accuracy. But then 6 months later, you take the AI away and now he's down to 75% on this out because he's forgotten the skill. I don't think social media for lawyers is good for discoverability. What's the random chance that somebody is scrolling who needs a Virginia accident lawyer, lands on my video and goes, oh my God, he's talking about underinsured motorist coverage. I should call him, right? It's where people go to make sure that you're not a lunatic after they've gotten your name as a referral from somebody else.
You are listening to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're listening to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success. I am your host, Tiffany Swedensky, and today we have Brian Glass. I've known Brian Glass for quite a few years now, trying to remember before the show how many, but I couldn't actually remember. What year did you join up with BenGlassLaw?
So I joined in January of 2019, and you and I probably didn't interact a whole lot before that. I was at a competing firm, I guess, across town. So I would have hung out with James and with Ben, obviously, but I don't know that you and I met until I actually started. So 7.5 years.
Yeah, I was thinking it was about that. And I actually remember tracking, because it was David Marks Law. I remember tracking him as an SEO competitor for BenGlassLaw.
You know who did all the SEO at that firm? Me.
No, always you.
It's me.
I was tracking your all's performance.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have Brian on the show today, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about before the show started. And we started talking about the Google tax. And that was kind of cool about you guys. You really didn't compete in local service ads when so many firms are, and it's so competitive right now. But you've gone back and forth a little bit. What was the experience like for you guys?
It sucks. We built this business mostly on organic digital marketing, organic SEO, and on referral network. And so you know, as well as everybody else, that referrals punch above their weights. And so if you can build a third, 40, 50% of your cases coming in through referrals, that's going to make up for 50 or 75% of your money, right? And so for a long time, we just, quote, didn't need to be spending money anywhere. We've had this very small marketing budget. And as we've grown, we've spent more and more money. You'd like it working here a lot now because there's actually a budget to spend on digital SEO provider, and we're spending a lot of money on LSAs. So we had cycled through these just different categories of spend. We're like, let's go take $10,000, $15,000 and drop it with a lead gen company and see what happens. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's take $10,000 or $15,000 and turn on LSAs for a little bit. Let's test PPC. And the one that we keep coming back to is LSAs. And what we've found, and what I refer to now as the Google tax, is that I don't actually want any cases that are coming in through LSAs. But when I turn them off, my SEO tanks and my Google business profile tanks and all of the leads shut off. And then when I turn them back on, I get leads through LSA and organic website and Google business profile. The people who are clicking LSAs, I do not want those cases, but it seems to be the tax that you have to pay in order to generate other leads through Google.
There's an interesting relationship between search and organic rankings and tracking numbers and all of this stuff. And so you end up with like a lot of cross-pollination, and nobody takes the same path. Nobody clicks, well, a lot of people do, but quite a few people look at an ad and then go to the website or do something else, check out the reviews. And so it's not a very like linear experience for your average person. And then, I mean, Google is going through lawsuits right now, antitrust lawsuits, and effectively it's going to break up their company. It's not going to look the same forever. I feel like Google's kind of raking in the cash while it can, and to some degree, because they got to sell off portions of what they're doing.
Well, we've been in the 9th inning of AI search is going to take over Google for months now. So listen, I think just like Facebook is dead and then Facebook is back. Google is dead and then Google is back. These guys employ very, very smart engineers, and they will find a way to keep converting people who are looking for services and law firms in particular into dollar extraction from law firms. Like Google will figure that out. I am 100% certain.
The data isn't very clean. And this is me just telling you something interesting I learned, but one of my clients' websites, you could probably guess who it is. I started noticing they were getting like huge spikes in traffic and starting in July or June or something like that. So these huge spikes in traffic, and it was bot traffic. Like we
Mhm.
could tell, but I didn't look into it and I didn't precisely know where it was coming from. Well, I learned this week that Meta in their pursuit of a better AI is crawling the internet massively right
Mhm.
now. And one of those categories is law firm websites. And
Mhm.
so I learned that and I wondered how many law firms are seeing this huge increase in bot traffic and thinking it's a good thing or something's working when it's just basically junk data. It's kind of interesting.
It's a good question. I paid less and less attention to what our website traffic is. And really, the only thing that I look at in terms of statistics right now is my lead docket account. How many leads do we get? How many of those were qualified leads? And then how many became clients?
How are you guys determining qualified lead
Hmm.
now? I've taken that concept to every client I've worked with, and
Hmm.
it's basically like what we were doing on the leadership team back in the day.
Yeah. So a qualified lead for us in the car crash space is somebody who is injured in a crash in Virginia, has had medical care in the form of emergency room or urgent care, and is in a follow-up sequence with a physical therapist, orthopedist, whatever, 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 right? Somebody who has just been in an emergency room and hasn't followed up yet, and has the ability to follow up, but hasn't. And I'll explain that in a minute. That person's not qualified for us. And so the metric is tracked based on which category they get moved into within our lead docket account. And so I say somebody who has the ability to, but hasn't followed up yet, because I don't really believe that you're hurt if you have health insurance, you have a primary care doctor, and you're calling a lawyer first to say, what do I do? But we'll take a category of cases where you don't have health insurance and you actually don't know how to get into a doctor, and that person will be qualified and we'll set them up with a chiropractor who we're familiar with. So that's how it's categorized is by treatment type. And is there every once in a while there's something that actually wasn't qualified that made it in there, like there's not clear liability or whatever, but it's close enough. And we've gotten to a point, we have an in-house intake manager and sales team now that's really good at understanding with 90% certainty what kind of a case we want and what kind of a case we don't. And then there's 10% that I just call like the weird shit cases. The injury is really large, but it's not immediately apparent that somebody did something wrong, or the injury is kind of weird and the fact pattern's weird. And like those cases, she comes and asks me about, and it's probably actually less than 10%. But you have to be able to have written criteria for what a qualified case is and what it isn't. Because what happens if you don't have that written criteria is you get to the end of a slow month and a bunch of cases that otherwise weren't qualified start looking qualified, either to the intake person or to the marketing director, and so they might get categorized incorrectly just for purposes of I want the tracking numbers to look at. And every lawyer who's taken a case and later regrets it knows this feeling. It's been slow, so you'll lower your standards to accept a case. But we've really taken the lawyers out of that categorization, and it's all triggered by automation. So, for instance, if a retainer agreement is sent, that gets marked as qualified. Somebody drops into our follow-up sequence because it's a case that we want, that gets automatically marked as qualified. And then the team has the ability to reject cases for liability reasons or lack of injury, or it's outside of our case criteria, and that gets marked as a not wanted case. To answer your question, software has made it a whole lot easier than it was when you were here.
I think about that 2 or 3 times a week because when I was at BenGlassLaw, and people who follow me closely might have heard me talk about this, I had like half of the day each week dedicated to looking at a spreadsheet of leads, what the intake team had, things that came in from forms, and I was manually reviewing marketing
Mhm.
sources, making sure that was right. And kind of qualifying them as well, like myself, to the best of my ability. That was so much harder than what it is
Well,
now. Where it's automated. It's kind of ridiculous.
and you say the intake team, but in 2019 and 2020, the intake team was reception and one of the lawyers. And if anybody, the problem with lawyers handling the intake is we skip over all the attribution stuff that the marketing team wants and we jump straight into problem solving mode. The automation on the software that we have now is awesome. You got to type all this information into the system. If you forget to type it into the system, it's all recorded, transcribed, and summarized by our VoIP system. We can go back and find it if you want to go back and find it. But there was so much guesswork when you were here. And I think that was just the state of the small firm market in 2019 and 2020.
You guys got a real pre-evolution Tiffany who now knows some solutions to problems we were having back then. It's just like, I had it. I know the solution now. I wish I could go back and do it over again so
Do you
many times.
do you think they
So
existed back then though? I don't think they
I
did.
mean, well, like the software solutions, almost certainly not. I think lead docket might have existed back then. And I think part of my problem back then, and maybe even a little bit today, is like just hesitancy at new programs and new softwares because it's such a pain in the butt to switch and get everyone to adopt it. But like maybe it wasn't around back then, but certainly all the stuff I have now in dashboards and AI and lead docket, like the call reel, it's so much easier than it used to be, marketing attribution wise. And you can get pretty precise.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
In your early days, and this predates my time at the firm, you're using Keep as a practice management software, which is crazy. How you run a practice at scale using a Keep CRM, that I don't understand that. And then we switched to Practice Panther, which was marginally better for assigning tasks and for checking them off. But there was no data aggregation, or like all of that was done manually in a Google Sheet or on Excel.
And then you guys went to Case Peer for a
Mhm.
little bit, but now y'all are with Filevine,
Yep.
which is really cool from what I hear. Are you planning on sticking with that for the long term? Or are you kind of open when it comes to softwares and stuff? Because there's so much new stuff these
It is such a pain in the ass to switch softwares that we're planning on sticking with it. So here's what I tell people about Fileline. Their customer service is god awful, but the product is really good. And I think because of Ben and my position in the market, we get taken care of on the customer service side way better than anybody else in the general public does. And so I don't have like I go there's like a Fileline user group on Facebook where people just complain about them nonstop. I can get my questions answered by my account rep. And if my account rep can't answer it, I'm friends with the product head of Lead Docket and he will find somebody who will answer it for me. So I don't have those issues. But if you're looking for a new software, you should be aware that many people do have those issues. The AI is not the best AI for producing demands or medical chronologies or even generating documents. There are better software programs for that. Even up Supio, Eve, all of those will do a better job of creating demands and medical chronologies for you. But what I love about it is that all of my information about a case is in one place, including all the notes that my team has typed in. I said earlier that all of our phone calls are transcribed and summarized, and they're also saved into the file. Our email is integrated, and so all the emails back and forth get saved into a client's file. And then all the documents are within one environment. And so if I go into a case, and it's a case that one of my paralegals has been handling for 9 months, and I've had minimal client interaction, and I want to know what's going on, I can query their proprietary, it's called Lois AI software, and say, summarize the liability, summarize the injuries, and tell me the tone and tenor of my team's conversations with the client over the last 60 days. And it spits out a response in 4 minutes, and then I could pick up the phone and have a phone call with the client. That would have taken me an hour or two, even in a simple case. And any lawyer knows that what the client says to your team is sometimes different than what the client says to you, and you'll hear things. We just had this issue this week on the LTD side. We had a client who was complaining that somebody hadn't done XYZ. And you could pop into the system and ask us, hey, did we do XYZ? It's like, yeah, here it is. And here's the links to where we did it. So they'd have to seriously drop the ball in order for me to switch, because this is a way easier way to run a practice than we had 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, even like Sharp Cookie, the way I do stuff today is so vastly different from the way that I started. Even document generation for marketing, I always hated that. I always hated putting together marketing plans because it took a lot of time. People would look at it for 30 minutes within a meeting and then never again.
Yep.
And then I was still the only person who have to follow the steps of it. And so it's in my head. So what's the point? But now that's so much easier. Today, this morning, I reviewed a website, did like an audio transcription of me commentating on the website, uploaded meeting transcripts I had with that SEO company and then the client about their website, made a project for that in ChatGPT and asked it to take my transcription and make it into like a digestible, easy to read report on what changes I was requesting in the site. And it did so beautifully. And I mean, it still took me like time to put all this stuff together, but like I couldn't have done that 5 years ago. I would have been really cool if I was doing that 5 years ago. But now a marketing agency can whip something up like that, no problem, if they have the right resources.
Yeah, I mean the problem that you described with systems where you create them and you hand them off and then nobody ever looks at them again. There's every system in every law firm. You spend a quarter writing out, here's what we do in every case, and we roll it out, and then nobody ever looks at it again. But with AI, you can say, here's the system that I want you to follow, and give it to Claude and then you watch it work. So I don't know. And you seem to have found a way that actually makes it efficient in your business. Most people, I think, have found it or still using it as a glorified search engine. And I do that. Probably 50% of my use is glorified search engine use, but it's made our lives far simpler.
Speaking of work-life balance, trying to find an awkward transition to actually the one thing I did want to ask you, how the hell do you do all those vacations? Maybe I'm just the problem is me, but how's you spending so much time away from the house? You got to hold shit down at home.
At
But I guess
home?
like,
Take your
yeah, I don't
family
know.
with me.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. I got 10 chickens and 2 dogs, and I just can't
Yeah,
imagine. You've been
my
out all summer.
my 8-year-old keeps asking for a dog, and we would not be able to travel if we had a dog. No, I mean a couple of things. So number one, I have a great team at the office that takes care of all of the day-to-day legal. I mean, I think back to a time when I was doing all of the follow-up calls to all of the clients and all the check-ins. And I got a team of people that does that now, including a couple of people overseas, right? And one of the things that we've been able to do in the worldwide economy is push jobs like medical records collection all the way down the pay scale to somebody in the Philippines. This is a job you used to hire a 21, 22-year-old kid first out of college who would show up hungover half the time but never survived in that position for longer than 12 or 18 months because it's an entry level position. You ship it over to the Philippines, it is a great job in their economy. And so that has freed up more time for my team, which has allowed me to push more tasks down to them, which has created more free time for me. And so I can operate our practice by and large from wherever I want with a cell phone and a computer and a headset if I need to. Honestly, we just made the decision a couple of years ago to just start traveling more. Part of it is I was in Greece maybe 4 years ago now. And I'm getting off the plane in Greece and there's like 25 wheelchairs on the gangway with the run, whatever this thing is called, where like they're waiting for all the able-bodied people to get off the plane so they can take the wheelchairs back and get the old people off the plane. I'm not coming to Greece. I'm not waiting to travel the world until I need a wheelchair to get myself around cobblestone streets in ancient towns. So we just made a decision and we just started doing it. And the world, things have taken care of themselves. Now, it helps to be in a contingency fee practice. It helps to not be tied to the billable hour. And it helps to have a great team that's really in between me and most clients on most cases. Where do you want to go? You should.
Me?
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. I lack imagination. So we want to go to Scotland and actually going to go to Lake Tahoe this fall. So that's a trip I have to make a decision on this week.
What's the decision?
To tell my assistant to go ahead. I got to talk to people about the dogs. You mentioned the dogs, and it's just I got to do.
You're going. This is the wrong way to go about it. Book the trip and figure everything else out. So in Thanksgiving of 2023, we're at my in-laws' house. And I'd had too many glasses of wine. And I said, you know what? Summer of 25, we're going to Italy for 3 weeks. And I'm going to rent a big house. And whoever can come over and you stay as long as you want. It's the same as like running a race or losing weight. You just fucking put it out in the world and you create for yourself some pain of not doing the thing that you said you're going to do. And it turns out that you'll figure it out. I had no idea how I was going to lead the practice for 3 weeks when I was at the time still doing all of the sales calls, at least all the high level sales calls when I was handling all the large cases. But you know what? It just worked out. Your Tahoe trip is the exact same way. Worry about the dogs after you buy the plane tickets, because if you buy the plane tickets and you spend the money on that and you have a hotel to go to, you're going to figure out a way to get the dogs taken care of.
Yeah, I didn't want you to turn this question around on me because I knew that would be the advice you go, and I don't want to do that. Like, I got to figure something out. But that is the way to do it. And that's kind of how I lost weight, telling people I was going to do it. And it creates like this commitment of you have to do it. And then also for me, I had a fitness coach, nutrition coach, or whatever, and you're paying them each month. So you don't want to spend an entire year paying them and not get results.
Or you don't pay them each month. You say, can I have a 10% discount? I'll give you all the money for 2026 right now. And then you're the asshole who's not following the plan 3 months in for something you paid for 12 months of. There's all kinds of mental strategies like this to put yourself in a position where you have to do the thing. The thing that holds us back from that is our fear of actually doing the thing. If I pay for it, what happens if it actually works? Or what happens if I try it and it doesn't work? But actually, that's the fear. What happens if I try it and it doesn't work and people like look at me and they go, how stupid is she for trying to lose weight and it didn't work, right? Yeah. Nobody's actually thinking about you. Most people aren't thinking about you. Some people are. But nobody who matters is actually thinking about you and judging you for your failures.
Sounded like a threat. It's like some people are. And it's like, I'm like, ooh. The trick that I'll share with you and I guess the listeners. So I had to get better at delegating. And I just really had to because I wasn't leveraging my team the way I should. They were asking me for stuff to do. And I know I got to get better at this. But It's the classic problem. You come to the thing that you have to delegate and you're like, oh, I'll just do it real quick. I'll
Yeah.
just take
Mhm.
10 minutes. So I actually just started working from my phone. I'd go to the park or somewhere else in the house on the porch and work from my email and from my phone. And I can't open any programs. I can't open my project management board. So I'm telling people to do stuff instead through Slack or email. And it worked. It worked so well. I basically have a whole day where that's all I do is just work from my phone because that's all I can do is communicate what needs to be done to the team and they take care of the rest. And it's just a silly little small change, but it ended up working for me.
And what would happen if you didn't work from your phone that day?
Like at all?
Yeah. Does the team generally have an idea of what to be doing on Tiffany's Tuesday work from my phone day, or do they need to be sitting by their computers waiting for the instructions to land in their inbox at 9:14?
Well, so we use a project management system. And so everything goes to the project management board. And this is one of those things where AI was cool for a while. And then I ended up hiring somebody, but I had my note taker
That's
attend all
interesting.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my note taker attend all meetings. I had an agent set up that would digest the transcript
Mhm.
and make it a project on the project management board. And I would just have to go in and update it. But just even that part of Tiffany going in and updating it was burdensome. And there's a lot of AI ishness to it where it's like stuff we didn't need to do, kind of took the notes in the wrong direction. And so you'd have to do a lot of cleanup. And I basically hired a project manager slash community manager. And that's her whole job is one, making a task list of things for me to do. So that's nice. Like I've got a prepackaged
Mhm.
list of things I got to work on that day. And then following up with the vendors, the law firm teams, or whoever's accountable, and just getting updates from them because that's the other kind of problem of what I do. And
So,
so I've used that project management board for a long time. So everyone always has things to do. We have certain things we're doing on certain days, but still, I was the bottleneck, the classic kind of point person who's going to put final eyes on
yeah.
things or do specific things. So,
Yeah, I mean, you're still the talent, right? It's almost like a solo law firm owner where the client wants to talk to you. So I can see where that's a challenge from the vacation standpoint, but I would fuck it, book it. Like just
yeah.
book the trip. Figure it out later and tell your clients that they should be doing the same thing.
I mean, I'm working my way up there. I'm still in the grind phase of starting my business. And for me, the next person is that fractional CMO, the person who's a marketer with that experience. And Sharp Cookie is the systems to some degree. At least that's the vision I have right now. I wanted to ask you because I saw on LinkedIn that you were doing an AI or a presentation about AI today, I think.
Mhm.
Are you using ChatGPT or Claude right now? I guess I'll start
Yeah,
there.
I just did that thing where I imported all my ChatGPT data over to Claude.
Why'd you do that? Maybe I'm just stuck with my soccer. I'm just like, why do I have to move? Why did you move to Claude?
I think the output is better, and I appreciate that as different models come out on the different platforms, one is a little bit ahead of the other, one is a little bit. But the way that I have been using Claude is in law firm planning, succession planning, and in like it's a financial dashboard for my personal life. And Claude is really good at creating dashboards and simulations where you say, okay, what if we grew by 12%? Okay, what if it was 15? What if it was 20? What does that look like? I haven't figured out how to do that in ChatGPT. And so I was having these conversations. I was doing this in Claude, but I was getting frustrated that I'd been on GPT for 2 years and it quote knew so much about me that Claude didn't know. So I just moved. You can ask Claude for the prompt to export all your stuff out of GPT. You download it, copy paste it, upload it over here. I just think it's a better engine for what I'm using AI for right now.
I guess I got to test it. These AI programs have an invisible moat built around them with those memories. Because once you start using it to a certain point, you do have to do this kind of data export to get your data to the new LLM. So it really has to be justified. I was telling Jason and he didn't get it. But where I kind of think where I want to go is investing in my own AI because Claude and ChatGPT, in my view, are only going to get more expensive. And every SaaS tool that's built on Claude or ChatGPT, essentially a wrapper, whenever the base prices for those tools go up, and they certainly will, then the cost to use those tools is going to go up proportionately, and maybe even more than that. And so for me and for my personal use and maybe for company use, I think I'm building a second PC and making that like the AI PC, because you can get open source models these days, train them. But the question is how you want to do that at a point when the technology has advanced to where the open source models are good enough, and then not do it so late or so early where you're kind of investing in the wrong point. I don't know. I don't know why I
Well,
got off
you
on that
are you
tangent.
are smarter and more technologically savvy than I am, and so maybe that's something that you could do and then keep up with. The challenge would be the keeping up with it. But, it reminds me of my marketing department 3 years ago, where it was like, oh, we'll just learn how to do that. Oh, we'll just learn how to run Facebook ads. Oh, we'll just learn retargeting. We'll just learn SEO. And at a certain point, everything's getting more expensive, but it's way more efficient to just buy it from somebody who already knows what they're doing.
I can't disagree with you on that, legitimately, because I've even gotten to that place where it's let's just get the person who's really good at the thing. Let's just get the tool that's really good at the thing. For me, though, like the power of querying these tools and building up that proprietary knowledge is super important. And then you do have to know enough. You do have to, you said earlier, boring AI conversation where it's ultimately have a human look at anything. That's still good advice, but the human is what enhances the tool. And so I feel like everyone should be learning.
We're having this discussion in the mastermind group, and I forget whether you were still in the room or not. But one of the challenges that we're having in the law firm is we have this capability to write demand letters in our software, but the demand letters that our software produces are not very good. And then I'm asking my team, who's younger, to go in and edit the demand letter that's already been written and make it good. The challenge is, though, they're so young, they've never been in an environment where they had to do it on their own. And so I don't think they actually know what a good one looks like yet. It's exactly the same thing. You have to have enough of a base knowledge so that you can edit the output so that you know what good looks like. There was this study of AI and radiologists. And if you take a radiologist, he reads it, I don't know, reads a study at like 87% accuracy. I'm making this part up. You give him AI and all of a sudden it jumps to 91% accuracy. But then 6 months later, you take the AI away and now he's down to 75% on his own because he's forgotten the skill. And I think maybe we'll end up back in the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, right? Where we lose 700 years of history because people forget how to write things on their own.
I'm reading a short story to that effect. Well, I won't tell you about it. It's a good story though. But like, I mean, it's the same issue with copywriting because you have AI do copywriting. I'm not claiming to be the best copywriter, but I have pretty good base of copywriting training. I look at a headline and I'm like, that's not good because XYZ, particularly the here's how it could be better. I think that's the important thing because AI can do good enough. You have to, how can it be better? That.
Yeah.
And so that training and haste, I guess, when we're talking about creative stuff is important when it comes to getting a better output because people are starting to expect that. They're starting to expect more than the AI. And I think that's where businesses can really kind of learn to enhance themselves.
I think it has made a lot of people lazy. The ability to easily put out content, particularly on LinkedIn, has made people really lazy. And it's an opportunity for people that are not lazy to differentiate themselves, but it takes more time. And so that we'll see what happens.
Honestly, well, and I should talk to you about social media because everything I try to do, you end up posting something and it does better than the thing that I do. I made a Lindsay Clancy video and then you made one and it did better than me. And I was like, like, I shouldn't cuss, but I'm like,
Oh, I've done
why?
it three
How?
times.
Yeah, you've done that 3 times. Like,
No, no, no. I've cursed on your program now 3 times.
okay, well, I think we're good. But I'm like,
But
this motherfucker, how it keeps doing that? Why?
I've learned, Tiffany, that the secret to social media virality is to just get people to argue with each other in the comments. Darrell Champion was kind enough to invite Ben and I down to his suite for the World Cup semifinal. And there was a fight between Argentinian and English fans. And I posted a video of that. And it got 2.5 million views because it's just Argentinians and English people arguing with themselves in the comments about which one was the greater asshole. It's interesting because you and I both tried to create content that was either law firm centric or marketing centric or digital centric. And I'll speak for myself, nobody cared.
I know. No, I
Nobody
know. Yeah.
cared. And then you start posting these, you're doing weightlifting videos and I'm doing more personality stuff. And I don't know whether it hits my target market at all, but I don't think that it matters For this reason, right? I've said I don't think social media for lawyers is good for discoverability. Like, what's the random chance that somebody is scrolling who needs a Virginia accident lawyer, lands on my video and goes, "Oh my God, he's talking about underinsured motorist coverage. I should call him," right? It's where people go to make sure that you're not a lunatic after they've gotten your name as a referral from somebody else. And so you can have your informational stuff on YouTube and they can find you there or on your website, but having personality driven content on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever your platform of choice is, I think is the better idea because our customers, we talk all the time. We want them to know, like us, and trust us. Well, that doesn't come from he knows more about car crashes than anybody else because how does the end user ever know? I think you want to create content that if somebody stumbles on it, they'll, yeah, he'll do. So that's like, bro, I don't, maybe I'll talk about Virginia injury law every once in a while, but probably not.
And I think the commentary you did is probably just exactly the commentary lawyers should make because that won that trial is insane. I can't believe the discourse on it. It's unbelievable. But well, and there's also an element to you build a following, and to that following, you become that person. You
Yeah,
become the lawyer,
sure.
the marketer, whoever. And they will refer cases to you. And then there's an element of list building and nurturing to it as well. And this is more relevant to me as a vendor in a relatively small industry among personal injury attorneys, but people see those weightlifting videos and I kind of hate it. And they're like, "Oh, I saw your weightlifting videos." And I'm like,
Yes.
but they remember me. Like
Yes.
it makes me come to mind and it has that value in that way. And it's kind of like a long-term sales play.
It's the Italy trip for me. People come up to me at conferences and say, "Can I have your Italy notes or where you stayed or restaurants or itinerary?" It's something interesting that's not what you're selling that gives people an opportunity to come and talk to you about. I wish I had done this years ago.
It becomes an anchor. And I'd almost want to argue with Ben about this, but he probably wouldn't tolerate it. But I think there's an element of Dan Kennedy list building and the whole social media discourse. You build a list that way. That's how a lot of influencers do it. Dan Kennedy hates social media, but that's the modern day equivalent of getting your tribe going.
I mean, he'd call it maybe rented media, but it's certainly easier to build on somebody else's platform. And then you can drive them to an email list, but I think that's challenging to do from social media, and who wants more fucking email? So,
Well, it works. That's the trick, how to get them off social media.
yeah.
I've told the story before and we're almost out of time, but that's how I got onto my weight loss coaches program, social media, email list, sale. And I'll never forget that. I'll use that example a million times till the day I die, probably. So we're at the end of the episode. I have two traditional questions. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't actually cover on the episode?
No.
Well, hey,
you're gonna leave that
that's
in
where
or
you plug. That's where you plug things. That's where you like sell
Oh.
shit, Brian. They're like, yeah.
I am not good at direct selling stuff. I think if people consume enough of my content and hang out with me for long enough and they want to buy, they'll ask. I am shit at, and this is the next thing that we have coming up. But I'll tell you, the next thing that we have coming up is the Great Legal Marketing Summit, October 22nd through 24th. Oh, by the time that this episode is released, this will be public information. This is the last summit that we're doing. This is the end, it's the 21st, and it's the last big event in a hotel ballroom that Great Legal Marketing is going to put on. So don't miss it. Tickets at glmsummit.com.
I could have sold that better than you. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I should have pitched. I should have
right.
pitched. Well, we'll remember that next
I'll buy
time.
a commercial in the rest of your podcast, and we'll see whose offer code gets more take.
I need to start advertising on my own damn show. Like, if I'm being honest, where do you want people to look you up and learn more about you?
Oh, now I want you to go to my Instagram and my TikTok at the Brian Glass. You can see all the Lindsay Clancy videos you can take. I'm now a Lindsay Clancy trial commentator. There's only one now.
Okay.
This is what I do now. Now I just watch Massachusetts criminal law on YouTube TV and comment on it and get people to fight in the comment section.
I feel like there's two good trials attorneys could cover each year. That seems to be the cadence as far as like really public good trials. Last one was Cardi B. That one was.
I don't even know that one. I would have said the last one was Brendan Banfield in Fairfax County, the au pair murder trial, although that was like January. And then the one before that was the dude in Atlanta who I think Brian Steele is the criminal defense lawyer. It was some kind of gang, but also music label affiliated murder trial. and the lawyer like got sent to jail for contempt for, I forget what he did now, but I remember the judge sending him to jail. I think there's almost always something on TV.
Well, true. There's always some drama to cover. And I don't know why. If you follow through and start making good content, you're going to be the example. Here, see, just do this. Like, I would do that forever.
So I don't know. Maybe I think you would need an EA to, and probably with AI, you could do this, right? Hey, find me the clip and give me the talking point, but then it's not authentic. Otherwise, you got to watch the whole thing yourself. I haven't watched any of that trial. All I know because I've seen the conspiracy theorists on social media. And like once you have watched one video to completion, now your next 15 videos are other conspiracy theorists.
The algorithm's kind of sticky that way.
That's awesome.
Well, you got to do your research.
Gives the people what they want.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Brian, for being on the show. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll see everyone next time.